Welcome back to another episode of the Use Your Power Show with Rev Up. Rev Up stands for Register, Educate, and Vote. Use Your Power. I'm Julie Espinoza, your host for today. I am the Assistant Director at Reach a Plano. I am a white female with shoulder-length brown gray hair. And this is an exciting month because September 13th through the 20th is the National Voter Registration Drive Week. We will be sharing important voter information with you and content all month long. Today, we are meeting with Julie Oliver, the Executive Director with Register to Vote. Julie?
Hi, how are you, Julie? It's so nice to have another Julie on a call.
I know, it is. I can remember your name. So I would like to know, what is Register to Vote?
Register to Vote is a nonprofit. It actually started in 2018, and I'm going to give you a little Texas history just for a moment. Texas is a state that has made it, increasingly difficult, especially of late, to vote. We know that there were some voter suppression laws that were recently passed, but it has always also been a state that has been difficult to get registered to vote in. And Texas has a law, it's called the Volunteer Deputy Registrar Law, so that if you want to help somebody fill out a voter registration form and you are not deputized in a county where that person lives, meaning you took a 1-hour course that showed you how to help somebody complete this form, you have committed a state jail felony. And I know nobody wants to commit a state jail felony and lose their own voting rights. So it was a way to help folks get around that. You fill out a form online, you go to registertovote.org. Anybody can use it. It's not partisan. So if you have a web browser, you can open it. If you have a web browser on your phone, you can open it. You complete the sections of a voter registration form, just like if you had a piece of paper in front of you. And what we do is we then print it, put it in an envelope, mail it to you, and then we include a return postage paid envelope so that the person on the receiving end doesn't have to have anything. They don't have to have a printer. They don't have to have envelopes. They don't have to pay postage. We try to help everybody. And since the only person completing that form is the voter themselves, it's so far not against Texas law. Who knows if they'll change that at the state capitol? Anything is possible. But it really is a way to help people. It's the closest thing I guess I can say to online voter registration in Texas, which we don't have. And again, for so many people who don't have printers or envelopes or keep stamps in stock, I never keep stamps in stock. We try to think of everything so that the voter just has to complete the form. I call it the Texas two-step: sign it and mail it back in.
I love that, the Texas two-step. I like that. Are there other uses for this voter registration link?
Yes, you can check your voter registration form to see, or check your voter registration. So if you are unsure if you're registered to vote at your current address, and I want to remind people, it's best to be registered at your address. Some states, and we're national now, some states will allow you to update your address when you go to vote. Some states will not. Some states shut down voter registration 30 days in front of an election, like Texas. So if you have moved even between counties, let's say you moved from Dallas to Austin, and you go vote, but you've not updated your voter registration, you are likely to be casting what is called a provisional ballot. And unless there are some areas of overlap between races in Dallas and in Austin, which typically those are only the statewide races, the rest of your votes will be eliminated. And so it's a way to hopefully allow people to check their voter registration, get it updated where they live. If you've had a name change, you can update your name, but hopefully do all that before voter registration shuts down. And in the states that allow mail-in ballots, you can also apply to get your mail-in ballot as well.
And I also want to reiterate, it's another way for people to request a mail-in ballot.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. It's another way to request a mail-in ballot. That's right. We try to make it a one-stop shop. It's not fully, but as best we can do. It's try to check your registration, get registered, and then once you're registered, you can also, if it is applicable to you in your state, request a mail-in ballot.
What advice, now you know about the voter suppression laws going on, the problems with mail-in ballots for people with disabilities. What advice do you have for voters with disabilities today?
I think my advice would be twofold. I know we have already seen the passage of SB1 here in Texas, which is the voter suppression bill that really minimizes things that make it convenient to vote, especially for folks who have disabilities. And it's not even necessarily confined to folks who have disabilities. It's folks who might work odd hours or 24-hour shifts. Think about firefighters and folks who work at hospitals, trying to make it convenient so that when they roll off a late night shift, they can go vote before they go home. A young, or I should say a parent that has young children who may not want to go into a polling location with a baby or toddlers, being able to drive through and cast your ballot is incredibly convenient. I still think it is incredibly important for legislators to know how disappointed we are in their votes that they cast. I think it's incredibly important to hold them accountable. And I understand that there are barriers, especially for folks with disabilities that, folks like me will never, or I shouldn't say will never, because who knows what my future holds, but right now don't currently face. But I think that they need to know that there is a contingent of voters out there who will hold them accountable, even if the barriers that they have created are hard to get around. And so calling them is one way to hold them accountable, writing them letters, showing up for testimony. I know Bob Kafka is at the Capitol frequently the first 8 months of this year, and letting them know that their jobs are on the line, and that you will be a force to be reckoned with, and a voice that legislators need to listen to.
That is awesome advice. That is, use your power, people.
Use your power. It is power. The vote is power. It is. And, I'll just tell you, this has been a rough week in Texas because, we've had a number of bills that went into effect yesterday. SB1 was finally passed in special session. It's going to the governor for signature and eventually will become law here. So I understand the heaviness, and I want to hold space for that. This feels dark. It feels like we're moving backwards. For every inch we gain forward, it feels like somebody's shoving us back 12 feet. And, Tuesday was a day where I felt very emotional. And I couldn't quite pinpoint it. And for a moment, I was like, oh my gosh, am I facing the change, the hormonal change? I'm 49, or my level's starting to dip. And I realized, no, it's heavy. We had a hurricane hit us, tragedy struck in Haiti. We're coming out of a war. We're still living in a pandemic. And then we've got the legislators at the Capitol in Texas doing these things that do not benefit Texans. Mm-hmm. It was a heavy day for me. Today, I woke up with a new resolve and I'm like, I'm ready to fight. So I put on my figurative boxing gloves and I'm ready. I have it in me. And there's so many good things to fight for. Voting rights, yes, absolutely. Healthcare, yes, incredibly important. Meaningfully addressing climate change so that we have a livable planet, and people where they currently live are not either underwater or in a wasteland where there is no water. There are a lot of things to fight for, and I woke up this morning. I was like, I'm resolved to put on my boxing gloves again, and we're going to do this. It may take us 2 years, it may take us 4 years, it may take us 10 years, but we are going to fight the oppression that is coming at us. And we're going to do it in a way that lifts the dignity. But another way to use your power is sharing your story. Stories are powerful ways to connect with people. And I think the disability community has a real opportunity to do storytelling and story sharing with folks to encourage them to vote. Especially yes. young people who take for granted perhaps, or maybe aren't thinking about that, but a story can be so impactful in somebody's life. The hearing and receiving of the story can be so impactful that it will move them to do something. And so if there are ways to connect with college kids, in classrooms, sometimes talking to government professors and saying, I want to come and talk to college students about how important it is to vote, or high school seniors who are, about to become eligible to vote. And some of them might already be because they turn 18 early in their senior year. storytelling is very, very powerful. And it is a way to use your power to influence voters who might not be thinking about it because it's, they're young and they think they're invincible and they're not. We know that life throws us a lot of curveballs. And if there's a way to share your story and empower others to want to share theirs or get involved, that's what I would encourage people to do.
Thank you for your powerful voice. That was awesome advice. And even though I agree with you, it looks like we're going backwards. This link, register to vote, is progress for Texas. It is big progress for Texas. There is a link that we will be sharing all month long that will help people get registered, and we can actually keep track of how many new people are getting registered to vote. And there's also a QR code that people can use. If they see a flyer, they don't have to type in a long link. They could just click on it with their phone and go right to it and register to vote. So that's really exciting for Texas. So that is progress. And like you said, it's the Texas two-step. It's just so easy.
If folks do have questions about the Register to Vote website, they're certainly welcome to reach out to me. I try to make myself available anytime. So if email is easy for people to access, it's julie@registertovote.org. And it's not the word two, it's not TO, it's the number two. So register, the number two, vote.org. And just put my first name, Julie, in front of that @ symbol. So if anybody has questions, I'm accessible and reachable. If phones are better, I'm happy to give out my phone number as well, 512-413-1875.
Rev Up Texas has some very exciting plans for this month. We have on September 13th at 10:30, Good Morning Rev Up Texas. It's an opportunity for people all over the state of Texas to showcase what they're doing to rev up and register to vote, and to show what it means to people with disabilities. We will be having poetry, song, artists. It's a great show to tune into to see what's going on with Rev Up all over Texas. And it's an opportunity for us to share that and to get people registered to vote. So it's a good month. And I appreciate everything that you said today, Julie. And I appreciate your spirit with it, the power that you've shown. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Turned out there like a friend. It's been so nice to see you, and I wish your friend